In 1976, Carrie shocked audiences with its gory scenes, fear, and teenage brutality. And nearly 50 years later, the lives behind those faces have changed dramatically. Some have risen to greater heights than anyone could have imagined. Others quietly disappeared, and some changed in ways you may never have noticed. Until now, join us in rediscovering who they were and celebrating the legacy they left behind. Sissy Spacek as Carrie White. Sissy Spacek was born on December 25, 1949, in Quitman, Texas, USA. At the age of 26, she played Carrie White, a shy, abused high school girl with psychic abilities, in the 1976 film Carrie. Her performance transformed Stephen King's horror story into an emotionally charged tragedy, anchoring supernatural terror within genuine human suffering. That role became the film's emotional backbone and changed how audiences understood fear on screen. That depth didn't come about by chance. Spacek's childhood, while seemingly peaceful on the surface, was profoundly marked by quiet isolation and early emotional responsibility. Growing up in a small Texas town, she quickly understood what it meant to be different, particularly as she gravitated toward music and performing. The most significant turning point came with the death of her brother from leukemia, a loss she later described as the moment fear permanently left her life. Carrying that pain within her, she moved to New York at 18, making a living as a model, singer, and taking acting classes, gradually developing the discipline that would later manifest in Badlands and Prime Cut. When Carrie finally debuted, it unleashed a resilience that had been suppressed for years. Spacek proved she wasn't just a one-movie sensation, choosing demanding roles that solidified her reputation. That path culminated in her Oscar-winning portrayal of Loretta Lynn in 1980's Coal Miner's Daughter, followed decades of restrained yet deeply haunting performances in the Bedroom and The Help. Each role affirmed her ability to transform personal pain into a quiet, powerful strength. Off-screen, her life took a completely different turn. In 1974, Spacek married production designer and director Jack Fisk, building a family away from the hustle and bustle of Hollywood. Together, they raised 2 daughters, including actress and singer Skylar Fisk, balancing creative collaboration with family stability. Today, Sissy Spacek is 76 and lives a slower-paced life on a farm in Virginia, choosing more selective roles and creative privacy over fame. Her estimated net worth of around $15 million reflects her enduring legacy rather than extravagant wealth. More than riches or awards, her legacy lies in how she transformed pain into wisdom and silence into strength. Piper Laurie as Margaret White. Piper Laurie was born on January 22, 1932, in Detroit, Michigan, USA. At age 44, she played Margaret White, the religiously fanatical and emotionally violent mother in the 1976 film Carrie. Her performance channeled the horror of the film inward, transforming the home itself into a terrifying place. With that performance, Laurie redefined the emotional core of the story and revived her long-stalled career. The intensity she brings to the role reflects a life shaped by emotional trauma from childhood. Laurie's childhood was marked by separation and isolation after being sent to a boarding school at a young age. That feeling of abandonment followed her into adulthood, where Hollywood's attention arrived early but offered little protection. Even after her breakthrough with the 1961 film The Hustler, stability remained elusive, pushing her towards stage and television as the internal pressure quietly mounted. It wasn't until the role of Carrie came along that Laurie stopped chasing acclaim. This role opened long-closed doors, leading to later critically acclaimed performances in Children of a Lesser God and the hit series Twin Peaks. These characters reflect an actress who was not afraid to expose her emotional wounds rather than hide them. However, her private life came at a higher price. Laurie married film critic Joe Morgenstern in 1962, and although they had a daughter together, their relationship was fraught with difficulties due to creative imbalances and emotional distance. Laurie's 1982 divorce led to a period of depression, but she refused to disappear. She continued to work regularly, writing memoirs, sculpting, and returning to the screen with quiet perseverance. Sadly, she passed away on October 14, 2023, in Los Angeles at the age of 91 after a long period of health complications due to old age. With an estimated net worth of around $5 million, Piper Laurie left behind a story not of extravagance, but of resilience. Her legacy lives on in performances that transformed personal isolation into unforgettable psychological strength. Amy Irving as Sue Snell. Amy Irving was born on September 10, 1953, in Palo Alto, California, USA. At age 23, she played Sue Snell, a girl tormented by guilt after participating in the bullying of Carrie, in the 1976 film Carrie. Her performance brought a moral conscience to the film, creating a unique highlight of remorse and humanity in the story. Without Sue Snell, Carrie would have been nothing but cruelty. Irving turned it into a tragedy. That emotional awareness was formed very early on. Growing up in a family steeped in the arts, with his father being a director and his mother an actress, Irving frequently traveled between cities and theaters. She learned discipline early on, but also had to bear the weight of relentless expectations. By her teenage years, Broadway and formal acting schools replaced normal adolescence, pushing her toward professionalism before emotional stability had a chance to develop. That early pressure shaped a career based on intellect rather than ostentation. Following her role as Carrie, Irving transitioned seamlessly between film, television, and stage, earning an Oscar nomination for Yentl in 1983, and later critical acclaim for Traffic in 2000. Roles in series like Alias and voicing Jessica Rabbit in Who Framed Roger Rabbit expanded her acting range, demonstrating her ability to embody diverse characters. However, her personal life proved more turbulent than her on-screen persona. Irving married Steven Spielberg in 1985, and although the marriage produced a son, it crumbled under the weight of global fame and her husband's frequent absences. The 1989 divorce was emotionally damaging, despite a substantial financial settlement, and she later admitted to struggling mentally afterward. Subsequent marriages to Bruno Barreto and then Kenneth Bowser offered more stability, though neither erased the mark of the first breakdown. Amy Irving is now 73 years old, living a quieter life, dedicating her time to music, selective acting, and personal projects. With an estimated net worth of $120 million built up over decades of work, investments, and past compensations, her story is a reminder that success doesn't protect the heart. It only challenges it in different ways. Michael Talbot as Freddie. Michael Talbot was born on February 2, 1955, in Waverly, Iowa, USA. At age 21, he played Freddie, one of the aggressive teenagers involved in the bullying in the 1976 film Carrie. His role contributed to portraying mob mentality pushing cruelty beyond acceptable limits. Although his appearance was brief, his presence added to the film's authenticity. His early life was relatively quiet but still full of pressure. Growing up in a small Midwestern town, Talbot faced pressure when he chose acting over stability and moved to Hollywood at a young age. The uncertainty of that turning point created tension long before success arrived. However, his perseverance helped him advance further in television. Talbot became widely known for his role as Detective Stanley Switek in Miami Vice, a role that shaped his career throughout the 1980 SI. He also appeared in shows such as First Blood and National Lampoon's Vacation, often playing characters with erratic or impulsive personalities. Over time, his intense acting became his signature. As his acting roles diminished in the early 2000s, he completely retired from acting in 2003, choosing personal stability over self-transformation. Today, Michael Talbot is 71 years old and lives in Waverly, Iowa, far removed from the industry that once defined his name. With an estimated net worth of around $2 million earned during his years in the arts, he represents a rare, deliberate, quiet, and decisive withdrawal from Hollywood. Betty Buckley as Ms. Collins. Betty Buckley was born on July 3, 1947, in Big Spring, Texas, USA. At age 29, she played Ms. Collins, a physical education teacher who unsuccessfully tries to protect Carrie. In the 1976 film Carrie, her role embodies the fragility of authority, the only adult voice attempting to stop the cruelty before it becomes deadly. That quiet failure only intensifies the film's sense of inevitability. That tension mirrors Buckley's own beginnings. Growing up in a strict military family with her father being an Air Force colonel, she endured both physical and mental pressure, which eroded her self-confidence early on. Discipline governed her daily life, leaving little room for vulnerability. Singing and performing became her refuge, a place where pain could be transformed into control instead of fear. That refuge developed into a remarkable career. Buckley rose to prominence on television with the series 8 is Enough, then conquered the Broadway stage by winning a Tony Award for the musical Cats in 1983, her voice becoming legendary. Film roles, such as Tender Mercies and later Split, proved she could portray both warmth and wickedness, seamlessly transitioning between stage and screen. However, her private life never followed a conventional pattern. Buckley married Peter Flood in 1972, but the marriage broke down 7 years later due to incompatibility and work pressures. She chose not to remarry or have children, instead devoting herself entirely to her work. Years of strain on her voice led to serious vocal trauma, forcing her to rediscover the very thing that defined her identity. Today, at age 79, Betty Buckley continues to perform, teach, and record music with the discipline forged through her journey of overcoming illness. After triumphing over breast cancer diagnosed in 2010, she continued to work with lucidity and clear purpose. With an estimated net worth of $4 million, her legacy lies not in comfort, but in resilience, expressed through her music. Souls as Norma Watson. Soles was born on July 17, 1950, in Frankfurt, Germany. At the age of 26, she played Norma Watson, one of the girls involved in the bullying in the 1976 film Carrie. Although initially written as a minor character, her role gradually evolved into a secondary antagonist, contributing to the film's tragic cruelty. Her presence heightened the tension within the group, making the horror seem believable. That sense of unease reflected her childhood. Growing up in a constantly moving international family with a Dutch father and an American mother, Souls spent her childhood in Morocco, Venezuela, and Belgium. Constantly moving from place to place fostered cultural fluency, but also caused emotional instability, leaving her feeling lost. Acting became a way for her to find solace when nothing else offered a sense of stability. Carrie opened the door to a status of fan-favorite stardom rather than mainstream fame. Souls became a familiar face in the horror genre in the late 1970s through films like Halloween and Rock and Roll High School, followed by popular films like Stripes. However, this work also came with a price. During a prom scene in Carrie, she suffered a ruptured eardrum, an injury that symbolized the fact that even supporting roles required considerable physical exertion. Her personal life also reflected similar upheavals. Souls married Dennis Quaid in 1978 after meeting on a film set, but the marriage broke down due to rivalry between their careers and frequent separations. A subsequent marriage to return home together produced 2 children, but also ended in divorce. Each change only reinforced the instability that had plagued her since childhood. Today, Souls is 76 years old, largely retired from acting, but still beloved by horror film fans worldwide. With an estimated net worth of around $1 million, her legacy lies more in classic films than in money. She remains an icon, demonstrating that fleeting roles can leave a lasting impression. Priscilla Pointer as Mrs. Snell. Priscilla Pointer was born on May 18, 1924, in New York City, USA. At the age of 52, she played Mrs. Snell, Sue's quiet but conflicted mother, in the 1976 film Carrie. Her character stands on the brink of tragedy, representing the guilt of parents who realize it's too late. That restrained presence adds emotional depth to the aftermath of the tragedy. Her sensitivity was shaped early on by hardship. Growing up during the Great Depression, Pointer experienced poverty firsthand and entered adulthood burdened with responsibility. She worked early to make ends meet and pursued theater not for privilege, but as a way to escape financial insecurity. Discipline and resilience became survival tools, long before they became acting skills. That foundation sustained a career spanning over 6 decades. Pointer appeared in more than 90 films and television shows, gaining recognition through films such as Dallas, Blue Velvet, and A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Often cast as stern, authoritative yet vulnerable characters, she brought a quiet authenticity rather than ostentation. Even when playing mothers repeatedly, she avoided sentimentality, opting instead for restraint. Her personal life was quite stable. Pointer was married to director Jules Irving from 1947 until his death in 1979, raising 3 children, including actress Amy Irving. In 1980, she married actor Robert Simons, and their marriage lasted until his death in 2007. That second loss marked a deep emotional rift at the end of life after decades of working together and being friends. Sadly, Priscilla Pointer passed away on April 28, 2025, in Ridgefield, Connecticut, from natural causes related to old age. She was 100 years old, with an estimated net worth of $3 million earned through perseverance rather than fame. She is remembered not for her popularity, but for her longevity and quiet strength. Nancy Allen as Chris Hargensen. Nancy Allen was born on June 24, 1950, in the Bronx, New York, USA. At the age of 26, she played Chris Hargensen, the main bully who orchestrated the humiliating acts against Carrie in the 1976 film Carrie. Her performance showcased extreme cruelty, giving the film a truly human villain and igniting a series of violent acts. Without Chris, that terror would never have been unleashed. That brutality was honed from a very young age. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood in New York, with a police officer, father, and a stay-at-home mother, Allen grew up in an environment of street violence and the pressure to escape poverty. Dancing became her refuge. Although physical strain and injuries complicated that path, acting was a second escape. But a lack of confidence and academic difficulties cast a shadow over her career. After Carrie, Allen became close to director Brian De Palma, appearing in Dressed to Kill and Blowout, performances that were critically acclaimed and earned Golden Globe nominations. She later gained widespread fame for her role in the film RoboCop. Although she had a stable job, the mental pressure from the demanding roles and the pressures of the film industry gradually accumulated. Her personal life became unstable. Allen married Brian De Palma in 1979, but the marriage ended in 1984 due to creative and emotional tensions. Subsequent marriages to Craig Shoemaker and later Randy Bailey also ended in divorce, leaving her childless and struggling with periods of depression. Over time, she chose to distance herself from Hollywood rather than confront it. Nancy Allen, now 76, lives a quieter life, dedicating her time to social activism rather than acting. After leaving film in 2008, she became the executive director of a cancer support center, reshaping her legacy around community service. With an estimated net worth of $4 million, her story ends not with applause, but with a profound sense of purpose. Sidney Lassick as Mr. From. Sidney Lassick was born on July 23, 1922, in Chicago, Illinois, USA. At the age of 54, he played Mr. From, a bitter and sarcastic English teacher, in the 1976 film Carrie. His character embodies the cruelty of the institution, highlighting how power can humiliate rather than protect. This coldness and aloofness further emphasizes the sense of isolation in the film. His life began in tension. Born into a poor Russian Jewish immigrant family, Lassick grew up in difficult economic circumstances and faced social discrimination. He worked from a young age and later served in the U.S. Navy during World War II, an experience that shaped his worldview. The fear of survival haunted him, even after the war ended. Acting became his escape, not his salvation. Lassick built a stellar career as a supporting actor, appearing in over 200 film and television projects. He became unforgettable for his role as Charlie Cheswick in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. His roles in shows like The X-Files solidified his reputation for embodying haunting, psychologically complex characters. Sadly, Sidney Lassick passed away on April 12, 2003, in Los Angeles due to complications related to diabetes. He was 80 years old. He is buried at Mount Sinai Memorial Park Cemetery, marked by a simple headstone inscribed with his name and the Star of David. With an estimated net worth of around $500,000, his legacy lies in his immortal performances rather than material rewards. John Travolta as Billy Nolan. John Travolta was born on February 18, 1954, in Englewood, New Jersey, USA. At age 22, he played Billy Nolan, the reckless thug who contributed to Carrie's downfall in the 1976 film Carrie. Although not the main character, his performance perfectly captured the superficial cruelty that fueled the tragedy in the story. That performance subtly foreshadowed a career shaped by extremes. Those extremes began very early. As the youngest of 6 children in a financially struggling family, Travolta matured very quickly. With a father who was a semi-professional athlete and a mother who was an actress, acting was both a source of support and a responsibility for him. Due to academic difficulties, he dropped out of high school at age 17 to pursue an acting career, a decision that caused tension within his family, but ultimately led to fame. Fame came suddenly and powerfully. Saturday Night Fever and Grease made Travolta a global icon before he turned 25, and decades later marked a resurgence of his career with films in the thriller genre. However, amidst those highs were career setbacks, public ridicule, and relentless pressure to reinvent himself. Later films like Hairspray showed a willingness to challenge his own image, even when critics were hesitant. His private life, however, bore even deeper wounds. Travolta married actress Kelly Preston in 1991, and together they built a family that became his emotional support. That stability shattered in 2009 with the death of their son, Jet, from epilepsy, leaving Travolta devastated. The grief deepened when Preston died of breast cancer in 2020, forcing him to withdraw emotionally for an extended period and rely on faith and family to cope. Today, John Travolta, 72, lives a relatively private life but remains actively involved in filmmaking selectively. His estimated net worth is $250 million, derived from acting, aviation projects, and real estate, a stark contrast to the personal losses that shaped his later years. Behind the smile of a Hollywood legend lies a man shaped by both grief and admiration. William Katt as Tommy Ross. William Katt was born on February 21, 1951 in Los Angeles, California, USA. At the age of 25, he played Tommy Ross, the kind-hearted college student who took Carrie to the prom in the 1976 film Carrie. His character brought compassion to a story otherwise rife with cruelty. That tenderness only makes the film's downfall more heartbreaking. That sensitivity stems from an unstable childhood. Born into a family of famous actors, with her father Bill Williams and mother Barbara Hale, Katt grew up under the constant pressure of expectations. The constant moving due to his parents' jobs left him feeling lonely, and he initially turned to music as a way to escape before fully dedicating himself to acting. From a young age, creativity for him wasn't about fame, but about survival. The role of Carrie opened many doors for him, but it was television that ultimately shaped who he is today. In the early 1980s, Katt rose to fame with the film The Greatest American Hero, which combined vulnerability and humor in a way that audiences loved. Films like House and later roles in series like Heroes helped him maintain his recognition. Although work came sporadically, between projects, he quietly faced financial difficulties, a reality rarely associated with famous faces. His personal life was similarly tumultuous. Katt married Deborah Kahane in 1979 and they had 2 sons. But the pressures of career uncertainty led to their divorce in 1992. A year later, he married Danielle Hirsch, building a second family that offered greater emotional stability. However, the long intervals between roles left behind lingering tensions. In 2026, 75-year-old William Katt continues to work selectively in acting, writing, and fan-initiated creative projects related to his past roles. With an estimated net worth of around $500,000, his life reflects perseverance rather than extravagance.